A bartender posted her paycheck showing she only made $9.28 for 70 hours of work, which sounds pretty much criminal to me, but let's get into it. One bartender in Texas is taking on the service industry's standard practice of paying low wages and the importance of tipping in a TikTok that shows just how small her paycheck is. Alia Cortez uploaded a video of her paycheck on the platform and breaks it all down for viewers. So, this is why you should always tip your bartenders and servers, anyone who waits on you or provides a service for you, she said. Cortez then pointed out that she worked 70 hours and that she gets paid $2.13 an hour. As if that's not bad enough, after federal taxes, Social Security, and Medicare, she ended up with a paycheck of exactly $9.28 for 70 hours of work, she stressed. Of course, I got tips, but this is what I got for my hourly, Cortez said. This is why you tip. So Cortez's post has received more than 99,000 likes and 3,058 comments. Let's see. Hold on, let's see the video. Uploaded a video. Let's check this out. Oh, right here.
So I want to tell y'all about some shit.
No.
So this is why you should always tip your bartenders, servers, anyone who waits on you or provides a service for you. Because this is my hourly for 2 weeks. I worked almost 71 hours. I get paid $2.13 an hour as a bartender and a server. I should have made $150.81, but because I have to have Social Security, Medicare, and the income tax taken out, I was paid $9.28 for 70 hours of work. And of course, I got tips, but this is what I got for my hourly. This bartender and
Well, the thing is, though, right?
50.
Hold on.
I should have made $150.81, but because I have to have Social Security, Medicare, and the income tax.
Mm,
Social Security, Medicare, and the income tax taken out, I was paid tips, but this is
interesting. Okay. So most states' minimum wage for tipped employees is $2.13. It's not just for a restaurant or state, it's almost all of the US. See, this is interesting, right? Because I thought she accidentally showed it, but she didn't. So she didn't show how much money she actually made from tips, right? And here's the thing: some individuals in this industry can make a crazy amount of money in tips. Like, there's some people out there making like 300, 500, even $1,000 a day in cash tips. Now, obviously, that's pretty out of the norm, but I'm just saying that is a possibility, right? Especially if you're a female and you are remotely attractive, you could probably clear $200-300 a day, probably in cash tips alone. So it's not like a crazy amount of money, but at the same time, it doesn't really express the reality of her financial situation in the whole thing, right? Because, yeah, hourly speaking, from the company, she's getting paid $9.28 for the 70 hours. But if you were to factor in all of her tips, the total would probably be a pretty big amount, right? She'd probably clear like a grand, 2 grand, maybe even 3 grand. Who knows, right? I mean, maybe not 3 grand. but like let's just say like a grand, 2 grand, which is good enough money to survive on, but at the same time, like this is the problem, right? Because you're so dependent on the tips, which means that it really depends on your clientele, it really depends on your customer base, it really depends on your location, the amount of foot traffic, etc. This is the same type of issue that like a lot of like Uber drivers, Uber Eats drivers, uh, whatever food delivery apps, right? When you're paid like a small flat rate, then you're like getting tips. You might have like one good day where you can make crazy amounts of money, but then the rest of your time could basically be like nothing. And that's an issue, right? And so if you are working this type of job, you have to be very careful with how you manage your money because your money fluctuates to an insane degree. This is why, if you're working this type of job, you really need a pretty good, hefty emergency fund. You need to make sure that you got no debt so that you're not forced to have to make big debt payments every single month. Which, by the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go down below. But yeah, you need an emergency fund, you need a sinking fund as well, and you need to be debt free if you really want to be like if you want to feel safe in this type of industry, right? Because there's nothing wrong with working as like a server, bartender, or anything that like relies on tips. It's just that you got to understand that that fluctuates so much. It's pretty similar in the sense to like a sales career. Like you could literally maybe go weeks, maybe even months without a good commission, but then out of nowhere, you end up clearing a good commission that could technically, who knows, pay for your whole year, depending on what you're selling. Like for example, real estate agents, they might go like a year without actually selling a house, and then the first 2 months of the next year, they might sell like five or something, which makes them a crazy amount of money, depending on the price of the house. So it's all like the main thing is personal finance is personal. You got to structure it to your specific situation. But with this type of field where it fluctuates so much, you really need to be debt free. You really need to have an emergency fund so that you could feel safe and you could also provide a very good service to all of your customers. But yeah, let's see some of these other comments. Oh my god, baby girl moved to Australia. Tips are optional, always have been, always will be. The whole if you can't tip, don't eat out thing is pointless. We pay our bill, that's it. People who don't tip, clown emoji. If you haven't waited tables, you don't get to have an opinion. This person says, I'm a waitress and my boyfriend's the cook. I bring more home in tips than he does on his paycheck. Either you're a bad server or you're not working at the right place. And the thing is, this individual, Juicy Jess, her comment doesn't really factor in because, like, this girl in this video didn't show how much money she actually got in her cash tips. So that's something to think about too. So this person says, I'm 18 years old from Australia, worked 28 hours last week, and got $620 working registers at a supermarket. Some of that is taken by tax and super, though. No, we tip when we're giving good service. We don't tip because you're getting paid $2 an hour. That's a you problem, to be honest, that person says. Oof, pretty harsh. Here's an idea, quit, nobody is keeping you there. You know full well that the tips you pull in cash, more than make up for that tiny check. So happy to be Kiwi, $17.70 minimum wage. Well, y'all need to vote that stuff out. No one does this but America and is against the law, but y'all buy it, so I don't feel sorry for y'all. This person said, the creator says, you think I chose to live here. The thing is, right, the problem with that line of thinking, these other countries might be able to pay their employees more per hour, but they pretty much do not accept tips or can't accept tips, I believe, in some countries. So you could basically be someone could be making like a minimum wage amount of money, but they're like stuck there. Like you can't make more than that. Like let's say that you were able to clear like $700 a week or $500 a week, but now you're in an area where they don't allow tipping. Well, now you're stuck there. Whereas with tipping, if you provide very good service and if you get lucky too, that is also a factor, your 500 per week average could end up being like 700 a week or 1,000 a week or 2,000 a week, right? And like it all depends on the situation. Like if you are someone who's really good at what you do, you could probably make way more money in a tipping culture than something that is purely wage based. Something to think about.